Hello, welcome to the second episode of MindSET. My name is Virginia.
And I'm Barbara.
Today, we'll be leading you through today's session. And as a reminder, let's give you a quick rundown of what this broadcast is all about.
Yeah. So MindSET is an online interactive resource brought to you by Body and Soul, working to transform trauma and working with people of all ages who experience psychological distress. Now, MindSET is a direct way to give you the tools and knowledge that you need to manage your mental health. And we're here to show you, all of us, how you can better understand your emotions and your feelings, but more importantly, how you can recognize and regulate them.
Over the remaining 9 weeks, we're going to be giving out live demos of the tools that you can use right now and the weekly MindSET workout.
So these tools originate in dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT for short, which you may or may not be familiar with, but these skills are based in science, and the science of the brain, and they help us recognize and regulate our emotions. Now, you might wonder if they work, but we would say just, try them out.
Yeah, try it out.
Yeah.
Nothing to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the MindSET tool of the week and the MindSET workout, both of them will train your brain to help you deal with everyday situations, even the difficult ones. Virginia, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah. So shall we look at last week's MindSET workout?
Yeah.
We looked at different states of mind last week. So there's emotion mind, there's reasonable mind, and wise mind. So I've made these illustrations. In this one, you can see states of mind spotting. So one of the exercises was to spot and observe other people's behavior to see whether they're in emotion mind, in wise mind, or reasonable mind.
Yeah.
And I just really want to know how you guys found the exercises. There's also the breathing exercise and also the questions you ask yourself to see if you're in emotion mind. Oh yeah, my favorite question is, would you do this in 24 hours time?
Oh yeah.
That's when I know, am I acting on my urges, my impulse? Yeah. So let us know if you have any questions or any comments about the illustrations or the workout, and we'll get back to it. Okay.
Right.
So first up, let's move on to MindSET on the move.
Darryl is a resident therapist at Body and Soul.
Yeah.
He's a very experienced dialectical behavioral therapy trainer, expert, supervisor. He has many years of experience in both the NHS and in private practice. And as usual, Virginia and I are both going to be participating throughout to demonstrate some of the stuff. And also, we want to make sure that everything that Darryl is covering is going into your brains.
So what we'll do is, this is the next one. There was another 9 of these. And what we do each week is start with a mindfulness exercise. So I'm going to give you we're going to do a guided mindfulness, and we're going to do what's called an internal tour of the body. So what I want you to do is I want you to just take a seat in a chair, put your feet flat on the floor, and then try and just rest your hands in a kind of loose manner. Just rest them palms upward in your lap. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask you just to listen to me speak, and I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, and as I do, I just want you to go to that part of your body and see what you notice. So as you do this, you're going to get distracted. You're going to have judgments about me, judgments about the task, judgments about others, judgments about Virginia and Barbara probably as well. That's okay. Just notice those and see if you can just go back to the guided sort of tour. Okay, and we'll start and finish with the sound of the bell. Okay, so just sit there and just want you to start to notice your breathing, but don't do anything with your breathing. Don't try to manipulate it or change it in any way. Just notice that maybe your chest is going in and out, or your breath is going in and out. And then with your eyes closed or what they call soft eyes. I just want you to, first of all, just go into the top of your head and see the skin over your skull, and just see if you notice any tightness or tension in that part of your body. And then just move along to your forehead and your temples. Notice if you can feel any heat, any tightness, any looseness. You can let it go if you can. And then just noticing around your eyes. See if your eyes feel dry or heavy, or space between your eyes. And then onto your cheeks, the tops of your cheeks and your cheekbones. Just see if you can notice any tension or tightness around there. Any temperature, any heat, particularly in your cheeks. And just notice that. There's no need to do anything about it. And then maybe just move into your jaw and around, and the space around your ears. Just notice if you're tightening those, clenching down. You can feel that. And if you can, just let go of any tightness or tension in your jaw. And then just see if you can notice your throat. You know, if your throat feels constricted, wet, dry, maybe inside of your mouth, your tongue in your mouth. And then just moving to the tops of your shoulders, at the back. See if you can notice down the back of your neck and your shoulders. Are they loose? Are they tight? Are they always like this? Do you always have this kind of nagging tightness in your shoulders? Just noticing that, and going to your tops of your arms, from your shoulder to your elbow. Is that hot, tight? And then into your forearms. We tend to keep a lot of tension in our forearms and our hands. So just notice if your hands are gripping or tight. You're squeezing your fingers. And if it is, just see if you can work to let those loose. Feel any tension, any pull. And then we're just going to move back up and into your chest. This is a place where a lot of people feel breathing difficulties. So just notice your breath. Notice if you feel any squeeze in the middle of your chest, any tightness, any pulling. Sometimes people feel a knot in there. So if you can notice that. Don't need to do anything with it particularly, just notice it. And then just take a breath. And then moving down into your abdomen and your stomach. You notice anything in there. Like this space in there, so you can have a little wander around. Maybe you notice it rolling, some butterflies, some churning sensation in your stomach. Or does it feel settled? And then moving on again, just down now into your hips and your thighs. You notice, are you pulling in your thighs? You squeezing them either on the insides or the outsides? Yeah, any knots or just areas of tension in those? Maybe on the back of your legs as well, your buttocks, your hamstrings. And then just dropping down. Let's just have another breath, having another breath, and then dropping down into your calves, and the backs of your calves. Are they feeling tight? They're pulling in. And if they are, just notice those and move on. And then we go down into your feet and your toes. Can you feel a kind of gripping sensation in your toes? Any heat in there? Any coolness maybe? And if you do, just notice it and see if you can just make a deliberate effort just to let that go a little bit as well. And then we're just going to return to your breathing. I'm just going to ask you to breathe in and out, in and out. And just notice your chest expanding, rising and falling. See if you can notice that and just nothing else. And then see if you can feel your bottom on the chair, the pressure of your bottom on the chair. Then we're just going to notice our hands for a moment. Just notice if your hands are pulsing, cold, hot, tight. We're just going to have a couple of breaths. Okay. So that was what you call an internal tour, or a inward kind of observation. So we were just noticing inside, and after the feedback, we'll talk a little bit more about the usefulness of this in relation to distress, and particularly high distress. So I'm going to jump into talking about what distress is, and I'm going to try to break it into sort of little segments for people, and then I'm going to give people some tips on what they can do. So this is the tool of the week, if you like. So the first thing is that what is distress? Well, there's an argument that distress is, if you were to imagine emotions up to 100, right, all of them, anger, sadness, on and on and on, you to imagine all of the emotions. Well, distress is when an emotion reaches, so for the purposes of us, reaches say 80 out of 100. Yeah, so you can be angry over 80, sad over 80, anxious over 80, and for some people even happiness, even being too happy or being happy over 80 causes distress for them. So that's the standard that we're going to use. Distress is when we hit about 80, and there are different ways. There are 4 sort of different ways of categorizing distress as well. So you have thoughts, you have, thinking, distressing things. You have emotions, as I just said. You have the things that you have things that you might do when you're distressed. You might scream, lash out and shout at other people. You might throw your phone across the room. So there are the behaviors. You might eat too much. You might not eat at all. And on and on. You might have urges to text people information. You might have urges to tell people what you really think of them. All of those are things that you might do when you're distressed. And another part of distress is what goes on in your body. Yeah, and there is a relationship between your body sensations, your thoughts, your behaviors, and your emotions, and they sort of go round in a kind of loop. Yeah. And so something happens that's distressing, right? So Barbara starts thinking, the event is being on MindSET, and then Barbara starts thinking, well, I didn't have my time before the broadcast. I didn't have my time to settle down, to become one with the universe, or whatever.
That is not what I said.
No. Usually it's half a bottle of vodka, but we won't tell anyone that. So Barbara thinks she didn't have her routine before she started. So she starts thinking, oh, what am I doing? Where am I at? How is this going? Yeah. And this sets off like maybe a behavior. She starts looking at her notes a lot, or it sets off an emotion. She starts feeling anxious. So that's going on, but all in all of that time that's going on, there'll be also lots of body sensations that are going on. So So Barbara, did you have body sensations, or were you able to notice your body sensations when this was happening?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it was, you know, my chest was tight and I had to keep like breathing deeper than I normally would because I was trying to loosen it up. You know, it just felt like a big ball of tension right there. And then my head felt hot, and I think my whole body felt hot. Like even like the palms of my hands felt a bit hot, and yeah, across my shoulders, and yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so this is like, so what we're talking about here is a distress signature. And look, so our behaviors, what we might do might be very different, what we might think might be very different, even the emotions that we have can be very different, right? But when you look at it in terms of body sensations, our body sensations don't differ in huge amounts between these contexts. So one of the ways of looking at distress, if you were to just collect your body sensations, yeah, this might be your first clue about what's going on. All of these things happen very quickly, right? But if you were to start to narrow down your body sensations, you could jump in when you got distressed very quickly. So for example, when I get distressed, the first thing I notice is a tightness in my forehead. Yeah. Then my jaw gets tight. Then my stomach starts rolling, and then my hands go. Yeah. So that's the first signs for me. So I could wait until all of that happens, or I could just notice the tension in my head and go early and go first. Right. So, but it's taken me quite a while to realize about all of these body sensations because I never knew about them. So for people out there that are getting really distressed, what we're going to do is I'm going to tell you about how to start noticing them. So the first thing you can do is that body scan. Yeah. So it's just check where it is. Yeah. Check where it is. Is it a heat? Is it a tightness? Is it a looseness? And so that's what we did. We did what you call observing. We observed inwardly. Yeah. And what some people observe, and what observing does, yeah, is observing lengthens the gap between something happening and one of our automatic reactions. So people used to call these triggers, right? So something happens, Barbara noticed something happens and we react, yeah? Whereas if we notice what happens, or if we observe, what we do is we're putting information into our brains so that we can change things, yeah? So if I notice my face is tightening and my jaw is tightening and I'm getting angry and I have an urge to throw my phone across the room, yeah? By noticing that and changing in that, I send a message to my brain, yeah, that maybe it gives me time to think, uh-oh, I'm distressed, yeah? Because if I throw my phone across the room when I'm distressed, the chances are afterwards I'm going to feel embarrassed, ashamed that I threw my phone, and then I'm not going to have my phone, and everything gets worse from there. So if I can notice what's going on in my body, I can put in I can stop and do something different instead. And so this is about kind of being aware and about our attention, right? And when we observe, what we're really doing is we're stepping back so that we can look at things in a more holistic way, if you like. So I'm just going to give you a quick something to try, right? So we're observing and we're sensing all the time, but sometimes people are just not aware of it. So just now, see if you can just try and sense your stomach. Can you do it, Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to take ages, and it doesn't have to be long. And what we're going to do is we're going to show you about how to, so just noticing it, right, but without judging it. Yeah. So when we observe, we try to do it in a non-attached way without putting other kinds of labels on it. So this is internal observation, but there are other kinds as well. So my guess is that if you're watching this, so there are some people, I suppose, that are terrified to look inside their own minds. Yeah. And they spend all of their time busy, spaced out, running around, doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Whilst there are other people that just can't stop digging into their own minds and examining what's going on all the time. Every mistake they make and ruminating and things like that. And there are other people that are going between the two extremes of going into their minds and being spaced out. And I imagine that most people here will be doing that to some extent. So think about, what are you? Are you digging in and diving around in your own mind for hours and hours on end? Or are you spaced out? Or are you in that third category? And if you're in the third category, try and think about how much of each you are. Are you 50-50, 80-20? So one of the things that we can also be aware of is which one and when. Yeah, if I'm out, if I'm saying I'm out watching football or something like that, I tend to be just watching it and outward and outward and outward. Whereas if I'm sitting around with my mum or something like that, I could feel internally, I could feel my body sensations. I feel my face dropping. Oh God, is she going to ask the same question again? This kind of, yeah. So I noticed that so it is completely contextual.
There's a well-known story about a university professor who wanted to make a point about how we make the most of our time. The professor stood before his class with some items in front of him. When the class began, without speaking, he picked up a large empty jar and proceeded to fill it with rocks about 2 inches in diameter. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was full. So the professor then picked up a box of pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly and watched as the pebbles rolled into the open areas between the rocks. The professor then asked the students again if the jar was full. They chuckled and agreed that it was indeed full this time. The professor picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. The sand filled the remaining open areas of the jar. Now, said the professor, I want you to recognize that this jar signifies your life. The rocks are the truly important things, such as family, health, and relationships. If all else was lost and only the rocks remained, your life would still be meaningful. The pebbles are the other things that matter in your life, such as work or school. The sand signifies the remaining small stuff and material possessions. If you were to put sand into the jar first, there is no room for the rocks or the pebbles. The same can be applied to your lives. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are truly important. Pay attention to the things in life that are critical to your happiness and well-being. Take time to look after your health, play with your children, go for a run, write a letter to your grandmother. There will always be time to go to work, clean the house, or watch TV. Take care of the rocks first. The things that really matter, set your priorities. The rest is just pebbles and sand.
Yeah, so the resource for this week is an app called Insight Timer. This is a really good app for people of all stages and levels in your kind of meditation practice. I only actually heard of it this week, so I've just been doing a little snooping around. It's really good if you've just started meditating, because they have a 7-day course for beginners. It's called Learn How to Meditate in 7 Days. So that's pretty good if you're just getting into it. They also have live yoga sessions, which I haven't done yet, but I'm quite interested in that. And talks of teachers and like music playlists. So if you're a little bit more advanced, maybe, yeah, there we are. So also some celebrities are doing some talks as well. Yeah, I found it really, really good.
You were saying that they have like quite a few free resources as well, like quite an astounding number of guided meditations or something?
Oh yeah, so I mean the way that it works is that you can sign up, well, you don't have to sign up, but you can download the app for free. And I think, yeah, that was it. They had 60,000 free resources that you can use.
Wow.
So to be honest, I think that'll keep you going for a while. And the next level in subscription, if you want to pay, there's like a pro members bit as well, and that you get access to maybe some more resources, like some courses, as opposed to just the standalone sessions. But to be honest, I think if you're just starting, then this is a really amazing resource. Yeah, to start guided meditation and learn how to do it, I guess. Sort of tying in with the mindfulness activities that we've been doing in MindSET. Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, thank you so much, Beth. And I think what I'm wondering certainly, and maybe others are, is what resource are you going to have for us next week?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to do a little snooping on Spotify and sort of have a look to see what resources are available on there. I think most people who are watching this video will probably have access to Spotify. So I'll just do a little search and see what I can recommend on there.
Brilliant. Oh, well, thank you so much, Beth. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Bye, Beth. Email as well. If you have any questions, now this is quite cool, right? Because unlike other live streams, you know, most of them, you miss the live stream, you miss out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this one, if you have any questions at all during the week about distress tolerance, you can email us and we'll do our very best to answer them next week. So you want to email us at mindset@bodyandsoulcharity.org. Yeah.
And most importantly, we want to remind MindSET viewers that this is not crisis service. So if you find yourself unable to keep yourself safe for the next 24 hours, please don't hesitate. Contact your crisis team if you're registered, or go to your nearest A&E department. You can also reach out to Samaritans through 116-123.
Yeah. So thank you so much for tuning in today. You know, it's not the average person that's going to take time out of their day to tune into something like this to work on themselves and their mindset. So we really want to acknowledge you for that, right?
Yeah.
So we hope you join us next week. And in the meantime,
keep working on your mindset. Thanks, Darryl.
Thanks, Darryl.
Thank you for tuning in.